Cool. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we all doing today?
Good. How's the birthday boy doing today? It was yesterday.
I don't know. I just got born again, moment by moment.
Yeah. Today we're talking about authenticity.
That's an interesting topic.
So
Oh,
there
we
we
have a
have.
visitor.
Good
Hello.
morning. Good afternoon here in Singapore, but good morning to you, Leslie.
Oh, Leslie, can you put your phone horizontally, please?
Oops.
Sure. Thank you.
Yay. Oh, you're muted.
Good morning.
Good morning. How
Morning.
are you? Did you have a good week? Can you hear?
Yes. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, yes.
Perfect.
Maybe we take a moment to share across and also let people know that we're going live, and then to share on our pages.
You look amazing today.
You too.
Maybe we take a moment
Oopsie.
to share.
You know, that's how it is difficult, because every time it goes on, you have to look at two screens. So today, we are talking about authenticity. Okay, I think for various weeks we have been talking about authenticity in various angles. In fact, I think all of what we have been doing, a lot of what we have been doing, talking about that silence, talking about triggers, talking about everything is really centered down to this authentic self. You know, how do we live vibrantly, authentically? And today we are squarely talking about this, about the how, why, and what of being authentic. So I will invite my partner here, Eddie, to kick us off. Eddie, will you do the honor?
I want to ask first, everyone, is it possible for us to ever be inauthentic or unauthentic? Is it possible?
I
Possible.
think we pretend all the time.
Possible. I would say
Possible.
So,
possible.
how do we find out we are not being authentic?
Possible. We pretend all the
Someone has to mute there, please. It's interfering with the whole sound, please.
Find out.
No. There's two sources of sound coming from you. Like you have two devices open.
I use the earphone.
Oh, okay.
Is it
Now it's
better?
fine. Now it's
Should I
fine.
change?
Put your phone like horizontally.
Yes. Oh, I changed my connection. Just a moment, please.
Okay.
All right. Okay, then I'll well, Leslie is getting ready. I'll
Okay.
talk about it then.
Thank
I
you.
would think that it definitely is possible not to be. And when we say not to be, I mean often I've observed people, and also in the past, I think more, nowadays less. Um, there's a recognition of something that I want to be, but yet I repress it. And when that resistance and repression happens, then it's not authentic. When it's guided by fear, that usually is the case. It's like fear that, I would displease people, or it's not allowed in the context that I'm in, maybe.
Is it only by fear?
Not only by fear, but by maybe like image management. Like if for example, the context and surrounding, or the organization, or whatever context or situation that I'm in, I might assume that there are certain things that are upheld as good. So you want to present yourself well so that you're accepted more. This is something that is quite often seen.
We see this kind of event happening in many different cases, in many different cultures and events. Like, for example, when you're in a table of poker, let's say in a casino, people are not showing their faces properly. Like, they make it very ambiguous. They don't show themselves. Maybe for the sense of accomplishment, like they need to achieve something. It's not only by fear. Maybe it's by also uh, they want to be brave or courageous, like they want to risk. So I don't think it's only by fear per se, but I used to work in a corporate life for a long time, and I used to be an executive, and there were times I didn't show myself, like maybe I was really keen on closing a deal, but I could never show in my face like I really want this. This is what I wanted to happen.
Poker
And
face.
I just try to keep cool and like, oh, okay, you be interested? Okay, then let's see what happens. So there are many factors that easily can draw us out of being authentic. So there are many risks in society when we are authentic. We might not achieve something, or there are many things that we are able to achieve from not being authentic. So let's assume being authentic is healthy, let's say. So what are the implications of living an inauthentic life? What do you girls think?
Maybe before we go there, maybe we invite Leslie to also answer the question. Before you were trying to do that before you were cut off, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry if my bad. I connect with the wrong signal. What can you repeat the question again, please?
Eddie was asking us, are there times where you see that it's possible for inauthenticity to happen? And what would those situations be?
So one thing that I could like think about that is like I was like a very people pleaser kind of person. So in order to like when I do something that I don't, it's not myself, it's not what I truly would like to do, something like that, I feel I have no power. So it's not, I was not true to myself, and I cannot express what I am, something like that. So for example, in Thailand, we have the culture of เกรงใจ so we are very, very considerate for other people, something like that. So if you go to the restaurant and then there's something that we really want to order, but we feel considerate that other people who go with us cannot eat that because it's very Thai style, something like that, or it's very spicy. So we we feel that it's not fulfill our desire to have that meal. So something like that.
In Chinese, we have this term called 客气. 客不客气? 客气, like whether we are being really polite and attentive to others, guests, and so on. Eddie, what is it in Korean? Is there a term like that, like grinjai, like curtsy?
I don't remember the term, but usually when we are hosted by someone in their home,
Oh,
when the host realize that you are feeling like grinjai, like Leslie said, like feeling a bit retained, the the host will say, "Oh, 편하게 있어." It's like just just be yourself, like just be cool, be comfortable. So in Korea, it's the opposite. Usually, when that inauthenticity or discomfort is detected, the host of a meeting or when the host of an encounter will step forth and say, "Please be comfortable."
yeah. It's like 不要客气,不要客气. Do you have a saying in Thailand like that, Leslie?
We have a granjai, so you are being considerate to other people, even you are not. It's like you want something, but you are happy to let other people feel comfortable in the other way, something like that.
So just now Eddie was also asking, it's like, then how do we feel when we are not authentic? That was his question. So
Oh.
you said something very strongly. You said if you feel powerless, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that one? How does powerless feel like, and and what does powerful feel like? Yeah.
I cannot be myself, so I don't want to make it conceptual. So I try to think about the example. So I feel weak, I not feel strong and lively. Uh, I can think of the example of my family. If they would like me to run some errand for them, but on that day I feel like I really want to go to other place to do something with my friends or something like that. So I was like เกรงใจ and um, I can I have to go to finish the errand for the family, but instead of doing things that I really want to do, so I give up that. Is that true example?
Yeah.
Like when before I finish the high school, right, we have to choose what we want to further our education. So I have to ask myself and ask my family. Then maybe we follow what our family would like us to do, to study, something like that. But it's not ourselves. But I think that it's a good career.
Yes.
So we follow them. But later we feel suffer because it's not us. It's not what we want to do. It's not true. It's not what we want to do for earn our living and enjoy doing it.
Yeah, you mentioned suffering, right? Like we suffer because we are inauthentic. Is that so? I definitely feel the same way, that I think this is inbuilt within people, that there's something that is true to ourselves. There's alive in us. That we want to express, that we want to expand on. It's just like a flower. If you're a rose, you just want to be a rose, right? Rose. And if we are pretending to be a tomato, or we are pretending to be something else, you'll feel really uncomfortable. And I think that's why I think in more collective societies that are the voice of what should be done for the greater good of the society. In these societies, you see a lot of people like in their later years, like maybe in their 40s or in their late 30s, you see them doing it like a really a great change. They quit their jobs, they they leave their homes or they take on something totally new, unexpected, and tries. It's almost like going through their adolescent at late 30s for collective societies, for societies that really like there's a lot of imperatives, must do, must live up to certain expectations and so on. Eddie, what do you think?
I, in my experience, when I realized I was living an inauthentic life, it didn't translate necessarily like I was feeling weak. When I used to work with heavy industry, for example, I've been living that life, unauthentically, but I felt powerful. I felt confident. I didn't feel weak, and it didn't seemingly it didn't harm me at all. And quite the contrary, I was like even feeling proud of myself, and maybe sometimes I would have come out maybe even arrogant. I'm not saying arrogant it's a great trait, but what I'm trying to say is that we could go through a whole life without knowing we're being inauthentic. And a lot of people are quite confident, not knowing themselves, So, and they're brave like that. But then there'll be moments where life will come and strike us and will like, boom, and will humble us down and we feel powerless. And then we start to realize, oh, I'm not as strong as I thought I was. It doesn't mean we were weak, but it just shows us like, oh, maybe I wasn't being true to myself or true to my loved ones. So maybe when we're inauthentic, it doesn't mean we're not gonna be successful. Maybe we are, professionally speaking. Maybe we make a lot of profit. Like, for example, I used to live in China, and people there, they don't seem to show much themselves, even though they're friendly. You don't connect in a loving way, for example, most of the time, right? Not everyone is like that. So maybe inauthenticity, like Leslie mentioned in Thailand, it's more about being considerate and polite. Maybe in other cultures, it's more like I don't want to show my weak side. But in my story was like I used to have a good salary, a good lifestyle, and have a lot of power of decision regarding a certain type of markets in the past, until the government decided to shut the businesses I was working on because of anti-dumping regulations. And when that happened, I stayed like in my bed for 6 months. I didn't want to move, and I missed the game. I missed winning contracts. I missed that adrenaline, And what I realized after that is that I wasn't being authentic this whole time, even though it was fun. So I began. I was invited to go for a coffee assessment course, like a quality control course on coffee, green beans, and we were supposed to taste coffee, and I couldn't tell the taste. I couldn't say what flavor was in the coffee, and I was getting really frustrated. Everyone else was like easily like spilling out like poetry, like, oh, this coffee is like grapes, and then you get this hint of peach in the aftertaste, and so smooth and silky, like petals of rose, and describing so eloquently. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I describe things? So one day I was so frustrated, and I couldn't pass that test. If I'm not wrong, that test was on Indonesia coffee or Costa Rica. I don't remember. So I went outside. I sat on the grass and I began to cry because I realized nothing I've been living, nothing about myself was real, and nothing that's real regarding a coffee cup is coming out of me. So I realized I've been inauthentic for all along, and I couldn't experience truth throughout. Like I cannot express what's in the cup. How can this be? And when I realized that the coffee was like a mirror telling me that you cannot even describe what you're truly feeling. You are unable to describe your experience. Then I realized that this is the path I want to take. There's nothing I want to do from now on in terms of work that doesn't allow me to be true and authentic. So this is how I began my coffee journey. So that's a life changer, really. Be
Yeah.
authentic may not give you any advantages, but it will show yourself. And once you see yourself, there's nothing else you want to be. So
Now,
that's
when you were sharing your first journey as 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 a powerful executive, you said this, you felt powerful, and that definition, I think maybe it's worth it for us to look at it for a bit. But like, because when Leslie was talking about powerful, you were meaning it a slightly different way, and then when you went on to tell your story about how you were sitting on the grass and all that, then you realized that you never had been yourself. You were the adrenaline sort of like came from the adrenaline came from the chase. The maybe maybe the maybe the authenticity is that, oh, okay, you recognize that you're a person who really likes that accomplishment, but there's something about that beingness that was not true to you. So let's dwell on this a little bit, like power, the sense of power that what Leslie was talking about, or by very conventional sense, like powerful in society, having a decision making, say, rich, powerful, having the, people look up to you, that kind of power. Can we, what does it mean to you to be really, truly powerful? Like what Eddie was saying, like being myself. Why is being myself powerful?
I want to share something interesting about that. um, Sometimes power can be related to how much respect we get from people, how much admiration, or how much people fear us, how much we can get in terms of money. So, for example, when I used to live in Indonesia and Singapore, even Taiwan, I learned that people would go to Bangkok, uh, specifically between Planchit Station and Chitlom. There's a four-faced figure there where people go to pray. And when you see that figure, the statue has four faces.
Yeah.
So people go for that to search for power and maybe some kind of they want money, for example. And then what I realized when I was an executive, I could be anything I wanted. Like I could show any face. The statue has four faces. I could put on any face I want just to close a contract. And the ability to do that and the ability to achieve that made me feel like empowerment, that kind of feeling like I can do anything.
In control.
Yeah. And just last week, I it was given to me this little shell, this little shell that has a coin behind, and people say, hey, if you carry this or if you have this, people cannot do black magic on you. I'm like, okay. So it's like, because this will represent the exact value of everything, like exact value of anything that's with you. So it's like, it's not abundant, like meaning that it's not more and it's not less, but exact. So that made me think like, okay, so they're saying that exact is against black magic or other intents from other people on you. But then when people are going for wealth or power, then it's not exact anymore. You have like 4 faces and things like that. So it made me think, so exact is authentic. It's all what we are and who we are. But when we are into power, we mutate and shift to any face or any direction we want to be like, you know? So it's like, okay. So it made me realize that when we are authentic, it doesn't mean we're more peaceful or stronger or healthier. It doesn't have a meaning. It just shows that exactness, that precision. Oh, at this moment, I feel like this, you know? It doesn't define you either. Being authentic doesn't define you. But when you're inauthentic and you're looking a lot of things out of you, things you want to achieve, things that you want, things you need, things you desire, it's almost like your face mutates in all these different forms. Things you need to do to achieve that, things you need to say, things you don't want to be and you need to be, you know, like that. It's almost like you have this 4 face shooting in all directions. You know what I
brought
mean?
up a very interesting point. Like, okay, while you were answering the question about the power thing, you also brought up this thing about power as something that you possess or have is different than the power of that expression of that true self. A lot of what is in the human society is about power being attached to what we possess, what we have, what we can call our own, be it another person, or be it a job, or be it status in life, be it whatever. It's all about possession. That's why you see, I think recently, not only recently, for many, many years already, so much, I cringe nowadays when people say, well, as a woman or as a man, you deserve to feel whatever. Okay, my self-worth is such and such, or I'm you are very good, or something like that. All these things that dependent on an evaluation, to it's almost like a something that you have, something that you possess, something that you own, a picture that is perfect that needs to be filled, you know, that kind of power attached to these, having these things, is different than the power of being, the power of expressing. Leslie, tell me what you think.
Um, I think I agree with both of you. Um, what Eddie said, that is about um, everything you need is inside you, is already within you. So when we go to a Brahma shrine, at the shrine near the central world, around that they have 4 faces, and the 4 face represent each area that we want to achieve, like career, abundance, luck, or love, something like that. So if everything you want is already within you, it's the way you be, like Dr. Lim already mentioned, Julia already mentioned that. So I think the possession, the possess of the objects is only thing that make you feel confident that you have power. Like if you know a lot about thing, important information in the organization, you have power in order to negotiate with other people, something like that. But it's also the sense of the feeling that you are powerful. You have power to say things, people listen to you, and but at the end it's what you be, not what you have, that really matter.
Yeah,
So
the perception matters, right? Because
yes,
a lot of what society is talking about, or a lot of what people are being without them knowing, but it's very, very apparent through the language that we use. Like say, I'm not worth it, he's not worth it, I deserve this, I do not deserve this, he is mine, I'll be yours forever. This kind of words just show the way the mind is thinking, that things are, it's about having. And when it's about power attached to having versus power attached to being, or in that self-expression, it's kind of different, isn't it? It's fundamentally different. Eddie, your turn.
So I want to ask you guys, when we are confident, does that mean we are authentic or not?
we are confident about ourselves or something like that.
No, just like, so
Stance of
Uh,
confidence.
are we being authentic when we're confident? Yes or no?
I think yes.
No, not necessarily. It can be, but it is not necessarily.
Exactly. It's not necessarily, because if we put a meaning to it, maybe we think, oh, I'm being myself now and I'm confident because I know who I am. And not necessarily, because sometimes we could be going to like a horror movie, for example. I'm scared of horror movie. I don't feel confident. Like, I feel like, I don't know if I can enter this room, dark room with scary movie. I'm being authentic. It doesn't mean I'm not authentic because I'm scared, for example, right? So there's no benefit being authentic, and it doesn't make you more confident or less confident because you're being authentic. It just allows you, or just shows that we are being present. It just shows that we are in tune with what's alive in us in that moment.
Well, it is one of
It-
those things that. Sorry, you wanna finish up? I didn't know
Thank
you
you.
were saying something.
So being authentic does not produce anything, but just showing who we are, what's alive in us in that moment. Not necessarily it will produce a good character or a confident person successful, nothing like that. It's not gonna make you lose friends because you're just telling the truth. We tend to put meanings into things like that, but being authentic, to me, it's more like being observant of what's alive in us in that moment. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you before.
Well, I just wanted to also, whatever you said reminded me of, I want to add to it that confidence is one of those relationships with true power that doesn't doesn't work in the reverse. For example, if I'm confident, it doesn't mean that I'm authentic. When I'm authentic, maybe a lot of the times I feel confident, like, but not necessarily so as well. But usually there'll be a quiet confidence, there'll be a quiet sureness that, okay, I just want to be myself, and this is one of the most confused areas about this being me kind of movement. There's a lot of people who think that if I put myself out there assertively, strongly, or be very, very confident in the way I talk, or way I speak, or way I dance, or something, then I am authentic. Don't you see that around? But it's not necessarily so. It's a poor proxy for that that quiet self-assuredness of someone who doesn't want anything else but to be themselves. Yeah.
This is very interesting because just yesterday I was talking to someone that I was saying like be authentic doesn't mean that we say whatever we want. Like I'll just say whatever I think and whatever I want, therefore I'm being authentic. Some people might think that
That's not true.
being authentic is like holding ourselves back from expressing,
Yeah.
like the power of expression, the freedom of expression, and that's how we are authentic. I don't think necessarily works that way.
That is more like diarrhea than being authentic.
Yeah, like this
Yeah.
kind of rebelliousness, like for example, when people disrespect the king in Thailand, I don't think that's authentic. I don't think they're telling any truth. They're actually cloaked with a cause. It doesn't mean that they're being themselves, but they're fighting for a cause. So how much of a cause is who we are? You know what I mean?
Mm, mm,
So how much of a something we defend is aligned to what's alive in us? You know what I mean?
mm. I would also be a little tentative there. Like maybe some of these people are really expressing and
Yes.
that family are, and but so it's not all the time true because all these big. But I do agree that big causes that are like movement oriented, um, that it's a form that sort of demands fitting in again. So long as a cause or whatever actions that we do that has the loudest criteria of fitting into an identity or fitting into a form or shape or expression that is approved of by others or something that exists as itself, like it has its own energy, it has its own identity. A lot of the times the self can be lost in it, whatever way, so long as to me the criteria is fitting in. It's like if I have to fit in a certain picture, but it doesn't mean that I will, sorry, I just wanted to say that it doesn't mean that rebelling against form is authentic either. Okay, over to you.
My sense on that is that I'm not saying that people that protest out there, they're not being authentic. Of course, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that when we dress or put on a uniform and go out there for a cause, and there's this freedom of speech, it doesn't mean that that makes us authentic.
Really?
And what I'm trying to say is that when we dress up on a cause, could be veganism, could be a religion, it could be anything, and we put that forth and we defend the idea. Are we being ourselves, or are we being a defendant of the idea? Are we like a freedom fighter, for example? Does that turn us into a character? Therefore, that character has a uniform or like a form, any kind of form, a different kind of speech, for example, or stance, or belonging to a group, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So these stances that it looks like expression again. It looks like you're chasing after something nebulous. It might be chasing after a form or whatever, but it's not necessarily authenticity at all. In fact, a lot of these larger movements, the self could be lost in it too. So it doesn't mean that they don't have any function. They have very important functions. Like feminism, when it emerged, it was an important movement it actually collected energy and power for certain changes to take place. But a lot of people broach it or approach it like it's an identity statement rather than really true authentic expression. So at the end of the day, how we come to something, our orientation, where we start off from our starting point, are we like truly being authentic, or are we expressing or fitting into an identity so that we can get power in the having way instead of power in the being way? You know, that is very nuanced and quite important, isn't it?
In my old days of school, the kids that gathered together to bully one kid, what I observed is that when you take one of them out of the group and you observe them alone, isolated, they tend to be a bit different from when they are together in that group.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
But the kid that's being bullied is just that kid throughout. It's like being that kid, whatever. But usually, the ones that are together in a form of a cause or a group or an ideal, regardless they know about it or not, usually when they are picked and isolated, they start acting differently. So I'm talking about that kind of authenticity, like oh, when I'm in school, when I'm around these people, then I have to be more like cool, or maybe more. I cannot be weak. So this is what I'm saying. When people gather together for a cause, are how much authenticity is there compared to when they are alone? You know what I mean? So this is what I'm trying to say. When I used to wear suits and tie, how authentic was I? Like, why do I have to wear a suit? Do I get more respect? Am I taking more seriously or not? You know, I'm talking about society in general here. So how much presence am I being with all of that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying things have purpose, don't have purpose. I'm not even there. I'm just talking about the self itself, like us. What's alive? What am I?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Leslie, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. We need to be at present and observe ourselves and ask ourselves what we would like to do, how we feel, and what we truly want to do, something like that. Who we are have to be take the consciousness and be at present and make a maybe meditation and see what's come up in us in order to know who we are, what we are, and if we are being loved, right? We are loved. The expression is will be very natural. We will be loved. So we the way we behave and express to other people, where we interact with other people will be in the being of love. We don't have to try a lot, put effort, so it's natural come from us, something like that. So we don't need to go to the try to pray for love, because what we give, we attract back naturally. It's like a law of attraction.
I like when you say the word natural because, for example, in Thailand, this is very strange and funny. I ask people around why the monks say you have to wear this color, like this orangey color, and then the answer was, oh, because it's a very, very, very natural color. So it's like, okay.
I get dirty.
So I thought it was funny and quite interesting because the fact that they walk alone and they wear their clothes, it means that they're not into an organization or anything. The fact that they wear that color which is supposedly natural. It's just like they're universal. They're just natural, and they represent consciousness, focus, or meditation, or peace, or compassion and love, all that. And they walk barefoot, and they're wearing that color. Like, okay, I'm natural. I'm wearing natural color, and I'm one with everything. So that is an interesting thing to observe, because it means at the same time, I'm nobody, I'm nothing. I just exist here. So it's I don't know. It's just interesting perspective to see that uh, sometimes being authentic or natural or something like that does not have an outer cause or outer way of expressing, but just being, just present, just being. There's no expression in being, just being, there's no projection of that.
There's
You
no,
know,
go on.
If-
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's no chasing after having something of, of an evaluation or a statement, or, of having something that is valued by society or whatever. There's no chasing after it. There's no chasing after putting meanings behind it. Actually, when you talk about the clothes, I wanted to laugh because sometimes if you chase back the genealogy of why some things are, it's totally different than what people make out of it later. For example, later then, oh, we put meanings behind what is holy, then, oh, the orangey brownish color is a holy color. It represents a very royal sense and noble sense of being. All these, let's say, meanings that people attach to it later might be very different from the originating notion. Oh, this color, oh, most practical. Maybe my clothes was white and later it became like that after some time because it grew like that because of the dirt or something. The genesis of some things might be meaning without such meaning, but we ascribe to it because we are chasing after identity and form and having the power of that having.
Actually,
Now,
martial arts is like that too. We
uh,
start with a white belt, and then how did it become from white to yellow, then brown until red, and then until black? They say that in the old days, um, you start with white, and then your training every day, it gets dirty, it gets bloody until you are achieve mastery, and then your belt is so dirty,
Lodi.
it's like black now. So yeah, we didn't have specific colors in the past. People just wear a belt in martial art when they initiate, it's quite clean and white, and then start getting dirty over time, meaning that you have experience. That's all. It doesn't
Yeah,
show that. It doesn't mean you have more techniques or you're a master or anything like that, but it's just showing that you have more experience.
yeah. So human meanings that we form into representations, symbolisms, actually they're important. Yeah, human beings. We like some. We put meanings behind representation and symbolism to understand ourselves better, or maybe express what is important to us, to life, things that we learn to value as a collective people. But they even even spiritual statements, like there are many wise teachers who Chokyam Trungpa. I love when he says that, let's not do the spiritual bypass. We use the statements of spirituality like we should all be compassionate and all that, and then we make it a dead thing. We don't bypass that human experience, that exploring, that really being true every moment of the way, experiencing and coming to our own gifts and our own insights and our own understanding of it. Organizations and larger groups and all that is very important also. We join it so that we have collective power, we can do more things, we can actually conduct ourselves as a group. But ultimately, what we are saying today is not to be rebellious and not to say all these yes to all these group ideologies and so on, but more so how we go into them, how we find the right fit maybe, or and how we are oriented towards the most important things. Leslie, I'm sorry I talked for so long. I want to hear what you have to say.
No, I enjoy listening to you, really. Actually, I forgot, but I.
Then let me ask you. Then let
But
me
I
ask
was.
you. Let me
Yes.
ask you one question. Like just now, Eddie was talking about this amulet, the shell with the coin behind it, for example. What do you think these kind of objects tell us about the thinking of the people who made them or brought their power into being? Like be it an object or a statue or whatever, these kind of things. What is the representation of the thinking behind it? Is it the power of having or the power of being?
I believe that the amulet or the kind of secret thing, like that one to protect from the black magic, if they not feel powerful, they may need that object to make the person who own it feel powerful. So to me, it's relating to confidence and belief in yourself, and also trusting that if they receive that amulet within their possession, they will gain power, they will be safe, something like that. But actually, it's all about you, who you are, and how you feel about yourself. So this morning, I listened to the monk preach when I was at the salon. So the salon, the one who do the hair for me, she opened the YouTube and the monk mentioned about Buddha. So during that time, there's a lot of beliefs, and people in the ancient time, they tend to need to depend themselves on the God, on Buddha's shadow, on the Hindu shadow, or something like that. So, but actually, Buddha would like us to be at present and put the effort on practicing Dharma practicing, something like that. So, also he mentioned about the color of the, how do you say it, monk robe, the uniform that they wear. I don't know, I forgot how to say in English. So Buddha said that it must be natural. So it must be very simple, moderate, and self-efficiency. So they put the dye, the clothes with the wood or the mangosteen. Nowadays they dye with that, so it's turned out to be that color, because Buddha want all his students to be very simple, live moderately, not have luxurious life, something like that. Live as simple as possible. But even in that very simple outfit, everyone still feel calm. They don't feel inferior. So it's about the state of mind. So they still feel powerful inside. They know who they are. They know what they want to do. They want to be enlightened. So every day they love their life powerful. Even they very still, they do what they do every day, like practicing meditation, going to morning round to get food, and coming back, doing walking meditation, sitting meditation. But inside, they know what they do. They know who they are. They know the way what they want to do. So even they don't have a lot of money, don't have luxury of life, but that's the true self of them. That is my opinion. Thank you.
I have a question to you girls. The
Yes.
sentence, the following sentence I'm gonna say. Hey guys, let's go out and be more compassionate. Is this authentic sentence or not?
No.
It can be if it can be.
Why Leslie? Why is it not?
You don't have
Mm.
to go out and being compassionate.
Mm.
You just be compassionate in that present moment and be kind and act accordingly, something like that.
What about you, Julia? Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie. Any statements to call for a being is, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm authentic. But if I want to be compassionate and, oh, you are going to go there to do that, okay, let's go together. Why not? But it's not necessarily that.
I think this is the following. If we are going out for something, that's a symbolism, that's a movement. It doesn't mean we're alive on that now. So let's go out and be more compassionate. That means we're not compassionate now. So what's alive right now? So let's go out and be more compassionate, for example. So it's like, okay, so I'm not very compassionate now. Maybe I can be more.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like you to be very precise on this sentence, okay? It's not like, oh, okay, let's go. It's not about that. I'm not there. I'm saying let's go out and be more compassionate, or let's go out and be happier, for example. It's like, okay. So what I'm trying to put here is that when Julia mentioned about symbolism and things like that, or meanings, for me, symbolism, meanings, or let's go out and do this, they're all outside, you know. I don't care how important it is, how powerful it is, or how meaningful it is, or what is not. What I'm trying to tell is that being present moment here and now, what is there outside of this, you know? I'm not talking about purpose either, because being authentic has no purpose, you know? Oh, so will the world be more peaceful if everybody is more authentic? I don't know. I could be authentically now angry, you know? So putting a meaning to things, what is what it is, or even say, oh, what is not, is also a meaning, negating something. So it's like authenticity. So what would you say? Will we be authentic or not? That's my question to you girls.
You brought up a very important point to me, in a sense that I think that we are going into something that is a little bit more subtle, um, because because value systems and statements and what is good and what people have experienced as wisdoms and all that, these are great, but the nuance thing that I want to highlight is that they could also end up being a trap. So being a trap to for being, in a sense that they give us a kind of a reminder, maybe they existed as a sharing in the first place. Like maybe somebody went through their experiences and then they found that, oh, okay, this is very true, this is very wise. Then I say something is to express my experiencing and what I got in that moment. But if people go on to make a statement like something to live by, like compassion is the way, or love is the way. And then we try to, and all the times we take our life and match it up as a ruler all the time. And our being is always guided by just that. It's no different to me than I go to an organization and then in order to perform my job well, I become the four-faced Buddha that Eddie was talking about, and I put on a suit, I put on a tie. It's the same thing. It's like living up to a shell, living up to something that could very well be an expectation. Fulfilling is it's about fulfilling a picture, fulfilling an ideal. Not necessarily the self is not authentic there, but there's so much opportunity when we go towards life like that for us not to even know what's happening here. Yeah.
Opportunity. Interesting. Opportunity. I won't comment about that, but anyways, sometimes here in Thailand, people are asking me, "Hey, are you going to that session?" I'm like, "Which session?" There'll be millions of kids gathered together for world peace. Everybody gonna sit all together in this big square and meditate all together. Let's go meditate for world peace. Everybody will be joining one day for world peace. And I'm like, sounds interesting. And let me see what's alive in me right now. How do I feel about this? I start to think, yeah, why not? I could go and meditate. It's good. I like it. But Leslie, would you feel authentic if you just woke up one morning and feel like meditating and you just sit down quietly and stay there with yourself?
Uh,
Is it
I get it.
Please share.
Thank you. I get it that um, because meditation is the way you practice every day, like your routine. You see it as a very regular schedule you put in every day of your schedule as naturally is you. But in my opinion, I think that when people are gathering and do the meditation together at the same time in the same place, there's an invisible power that everyone helping each other and raise up. So, for example, in my experience, right, I joined the course that everyone meditate at the same time, and the trainer she will use the Facebook Live in that group, right? So she be the one who doing the guiding meditation, and everyone like 400 students will do the meditation at the same time. In my experience, on that period, that session is very, very effective to me. So in my case now, because I very low in the not have experience in meditation much, it's very helpful to me to
Interesting.
giving me opportunity to develop my skill.
Mm.
It's same as I do the yoga. So if I do alone at home, I feel so lazy and I feel like no motivation. But when I do in the group with my friend and my classmate, with my teacher, I feel that I could do it better because everyone's sending the energy inside with the focus. When a lot of attention coming on that way, it's energized. So it's for me, it's more effective and I perform it better.
Thank you for sharing. That's interesting, actually. What we're coming through now is when it comes to authenticity, and we're talking about it now. What I observed from our conversation is that there's a bit of difference here when we talk about authenticity when we are alone, or when there's a motivation with more than us, more people, let's say. So it seems that there's this difference, like when we are authentic by ourselves and when we're authentic when there's a group activity. How do we see this? I mean, it's quite interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
I can say something very briefly. Um, my spiritual friend shared to us in our group on the other day that we see a lot of beautiful model, a lot of beautiful women with a good figure on Facebook or whatever who love to exercise a lot. And we see some group of the women that's very cute. They love hanging out, eating, but even their body is not so beautiful, not so fit and like six pack around, but they feel happy about their life. They also look beautiful in their own way. So they are being authentic about themselves, like they enjoy eating, they exercise sometimes because they are not the type of person who love to exercise a lot. And the other group of women also authentic about themselves. They love exercise. It's the activity that make them happy and energized and healthy. And they love to eat clean food, something like that. So they are also authentic about themselves too. So that's not right or wrong. Just be real about who they are.
Actually, it's just like what you're saying. Thanks for sharing that. Just like I think that I think authenticity, you can't, nobody can tell you whether you're authentic or not. It cannot be measured by form or observation from the outside. Only you know whether you're with yourself or whether you're in a bigger group. You know, when I go for, thanks for sharing your story about loving meditating together with other people. I love to do that too. I also feel I love to have it's the self-knowledge of um, that discipline that is more and also that enjoyment of having other souls come together to do something together. That's a different thing to me than authenticity. I My own authenticity will not be lost when I'm taking part in group activities. For example, if I see that that's a close fit, sometimes sometimes it seems that I have no choice. Like let's say I'm no choice, like let's say families. Okay, we are born into a certain family. We cannot say that I'm authentic to myself and I don't like you, and I don't like what you're telling me to do, and therefore I cut all of you. Sometimes we don't have certain choices, but who I am, how I feel about myself, how I how I um, perceive myself, and how I feel in that moment is where I find my authenticity. In fact, this is quite cute because this yesterday I was moved to reflect on something. I wrote something. Can you let me read it out? um, just very short only. I wrote, I said, a reflection. One of the most miserable things in life is to be in a place and not want to be there, to stay somewhere and yet be very bitter for staying, to be someone and yet you don't like yourself, to be with another person and hate who you're with, and to see that what you might love within yourself, you really want something, to be something, and be afraid to rise up to it, to know what is really great, and you want the vision to be like that, and yet you always think that it's beyond your creation and it's beyond your reach. I think that's miserable, and that's very inauthentic. So I wrote something there, and I think it's what we are what I was trying to express. Yeah. So being that authenticity is really like being when you're there. I Even though the surroundings might not be ideal, but I'm whole. I'm at peace with myself. I'm content. I know why I'm there. I know what I'm doing there. I know that there's certain things that I don't agree with. I'm fine with it, but I'm here. I am at peace. And if the situation is very severe, I can choose to leave or not. I'm still at peace with who I am. I know who I am. What do you think?
Um, I've been to some ayahuasca retreats in the past where after the session, in the next day, people will go for these flower herbal baths because in the previous night they did the work and many things came out and we embraced our shadows and all that. And then I was very observant to that, like everybody, yeah, let's go for the cleanse now. And I'm like, okay. But then I did all that work at night. I felt great the other day. And they want to seal it, the whole process, by going for this flowery water cleanse, you know?
Symbolism.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel peaceful about this. I don't feel like doing this, you know? So in the last retreats of my life that I've been through, and I start to realize that, okay, there's some things that are alive in me, and some things I don't feel like it resonates with me. I usually won't do anymore, you know? And what's more subtle is in the everyday life. Like I'm living here by myself. I live alone. So every day I think on my own what to eat, when to wake up, what to dress, and things like that. And I'm like thinking like, does this mean I'm being authentic? And it's very subtle, you know? Like like yesterday was my birthday and people um send me gifts like I'm in a keto diet, basically carnivore. And people send me like cheesecake. Nobody sent me keto friendly food. And they swear it's sugar free and everything. And I'm like, no, no, no. Is it okay for me get kicked out of ketosis? How long would it take me to get back to ketosis and start burning fat again as fuel? I'm already adapted for so long time. If I eat this, will I feel drunk or dizzy or something like that? And you know, even being alone and deciding that on my own, I'm like, am I being authentic to my cause here? This cause of daily routine thing that I propose myself to go through? Or am I truly being myself? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat a cheesecake. It's not a cheat date. It's not because it's my birthday. I will just eat it. Let's see what happens. Let's jump into the unknown. So there was a moment of authenticity to me there. Will I be disciplined or not? So what's discipline? Does that translate on being authentic or not? Or am I being disciplined to an idea or a cause or lifestyle? You know what I mean? So when I heard you girls just talking about groups and the power of all that, I'm like thinking, even when I'm alone, then how authentic am I being here?
Yeah,
Not to myself, just simply being authentic.
exactly.
So it's
Like
funny because sometimes even being alone,
you can not be
but
authentic.
yeah, we observe. So this is the subtle thing about one of the things that made me step into coffee um, quality control. Am I being biased towards a preference? Am I being biased towards a farmer or an exporter or an importer? So this thing, it's very like a meditation to me, like very present, like what's alive in me now, what's really, really inside a cup, regardless of what I prefer, regardless of my ideal, regardless of anything and the price or what this coffee should represent. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Even when we are with ourselves, are we like charging ourselves to be a certain ideal, a certain belief? I be compassion, I be love. I need to. Yesterday I read a post by a friend. I laugh out loud about it too, because she said, if I, Leslie, she's a believer of the law of attraction, and I'm not saying law of attraction is not. I actually think that that's maybe it's a
It's
how
okay.
things work. But she was saying like, if you want love, be love. If you want compassion, be compassion. If you want to have certain XYZ, then it went on very long. Then I then she said, then in the end she said, do you believe it too? Then asking other people to say, do you believe it too? Then my other friend said, uh, not necessarily. And that's great, because I think it's not necessarily true, because if she says, isn't that being your most authentic self? The question is, my friend said it's not necessarily true, and I agreed with her. It's not necessarily true, because it's all about that model of that possessive having, being in that powerful self, of being in that form of power, rather than that just be that authenticity. It's like you want something, that's why you be something. There's a there's a veil between your actual being, then the law of attraction is something that describes how the universe works. Maybe we are a universe of mirrors, but to use it as a formula to get, then in putting it between ourselves and the moment, there's something lost already, something not real, something inauthentic already.
This is so subtle and funny because, like, if you want love, you have to be love. Like, you have to. It's
Become
like there's a
strategy.
formula there, like
Let me,
an achievement.
yeah, let me plan.
Like if you want love, or like if you want to be happy, you have to be happiness. Let's just take a moment and be with it.
Yeah. If I want that guy, then I have to be what he wants me to be. Or if I want something, I want wealth, then I have
Yeah,
to
but we're
be.
just talking about being. We're not talking about having.
No, yeah, correct. So it's a very nuanced thing. I think maybe there'll be people who are throwing eggs at us now, because it's so subtle, but to me it's everything. It creeps up on you, all these very subtle things. And when you say you notice with in yourself, am I really being authentic, or am I letting my explorations with being keto become another rule of law that
Of course, we're being authentic. We're being love, and love is all there is. And what is not love?
and where there's not compassion, and we be love, therefore we be such, right? So I'm laughing at it too, because I myself sometimes find myself get caught on to such things, and we can be so unreal to ourselves too. Like, one of the biggest, okay, it can be group, it can be people, but it plays out often in intimate relating. For example, the Jerry Maguire thing we were talking about the other day. The lady says, you complete me. So long as we hold an ideal, be it like I am love, you complete me, or whatever shit like that, so long as we hold it up there like that, there is no, it's a sure path to no authenticity. Not because we don't want to please the other person. For example, if it's his birthday, I would say, oh, okay, great, let's do something. You decide. They say, oh, let's go and you do paintball. I don't like paintball. but then I go with you, does it mean that I'm not being authentic? It's a different matter altogether. I don't think it is about that. But this you complete me notion sets us up for failure because number one, the other person will always have to be a certain way to complete me. Whatever that I don't have that I feel incomplete with, he must be a certain way for that picture to feel completed. And the second thing is for me to believe in a certain ideal or you complete me, then I have to be a certain way all the time in order to maintain the story of you complete me. So we expand it a little bit. This one we can get it, right? We expand it a little bit to other things in life. It's the same. It's the same. So long as we hold a certain ideal, we live, are we living to make true certain stories, beliefs, and all that? Or are we really like being very curious in the moment and saying that, oh, yesterday I went meditation and I've gone for like 1 whole month already, but maybe in the moment I want to try something else. I want to, you know, am I being true to an ideal or not? I'm not saying don't go for meditation. It's not what I mean. It's just that the example was there. So
Interesting thing you said about when you say you complete me is interesting because our needs, our feelings are constantly shifting, right? When you say, "Oh, you complete me," that gives a sense of continuity, like almost like there's a degree of permanence there, you know. But when I observe myself, for example, not everything that I think completes me exactly the same way all the time. And my needs, they're all different all the time too. Like when I'm hungry, whatever completes me at that time could be food, for example, or could be steak, it could be I don't know, a salad, whatever. But the thing is, many things, although all the time, they completely complete us in a different way, or not necessarily complete because we're not incomplete. But I'm just going along with your expression. But
no, I'm saying let's jump out of that expression. That
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
completion. Yeah.
So it's like even observing that quite genuine and authentic, you know, like the not knowing of things, not
The
not
curiosity.
yeah, the curiosity, and not necessarily stepping into things with something assured, you know what I mean?
With imperatives, with the assurance, with ideals, what must be, what the should, could, must, the ideals. These are dead things. They invite us into dead experiences. It's like dead performance. Are we here to perform a role? Are we here to perform something? Or are we truly going into an experience? That's why Buddha always tells us don't just take what I said as it. He said you go live it. Yeah. So you go live it, you come to your own conclusions. I share with you to inspire you, maybe. And I share. And if I were Buddha, then I would say, I share because this is just who I am. I share it. And it's real to me now. But you guys go and make a monument out of it, build stuff out of it, and say you must go by it and go by a checklist and perform yourselves. Did we come for a performance? So, I think for me, authenticity is not a performance. Authenticity is not necessarily rebelliousness either. So, for example, if it's his birthday and he says that he wants to only go and eat steak the whole day, it is alive in me to happily do that because let's say I want to make him really happy and say, okay, I want to make you happy today. I'm going to go with you and do all these things. And I don't feel conflicted inside. Neither do I make an issue of that going with. Okay, then I'm being utterly authentic. Yeah. So from the outside, you look at it, you might say, oh, this person is always following him around doing this and that. Is she being authentic? Who knows? And who are you to judge? You cannot tell. Only the person himself or herself could tell.
What do you think, Leslie?
Um, that's very thing I agree with you both. What should I begin? Okay. But one thing that I see differently is like people can say when you are being inauthentic or not being yourself, when you are not real, the people around you can see that you pretend or you are not yourself. You they will know like when usually, for example, like Japanese food, the authentic Japanese food, right? If we go to Japan and we try the authentic Japanese food, we would know how it tastes like. Then when we come back to our country and we try it in our country, oh, the taste is so different. So like the people around us, when we are not ourselves, we are not truly who we are, they will know.
Yeah,
They will
people can see
see
you
that it's not
can see
natural.
people struggling, huh?
Yes,
You can see the struggle.
I was the struggling people. I was struggling a lot. So then I also agree with you, Julia, in the light that you have to be courageous to be genuine, to be authentic about yourself. Like in the middle of people who see things different from you, but you have different opinion about it, and you wanna say it, express how you think about that, giving the reason. You need courage. You need to be brave to 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 tell them that you disagree with them and this is my reason, something like that.
Oh, I actually think that consideration for others is a different issue than authenticity. Sometimes when I give in to others, or sometimes I'm considerate to others, uh, it doesn't mean that I'm not true to myself. It doesn't have to be that way. So my authenticity is that state of peace and calm and contentment within myself. I can go with my leaders at work if they want to do something and it doesn't collide with whatever that I believe in. It's not something that against my rule of law, but I can go, but I am authentic to myself. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that all the time I am at odds with my loved ones. Like if he wants something, if it's not what I like, I must make a point and must go the opposite way. It's a different issue altogether with consideration. And it's different issue altogether with expression. Like what we said very early on in this discussion, that does it mean that I'm authentic? I must be in a constant diarrhea of I am such, I am a whatever, then I keep on demonstrating this. I am confident. I am this. I am. I think that's very immature. So actually, authenticity doesn't have to look a certain way. What do you think?
I think this topic, I want to thank you, girls, because it's not easy topic.
Yeah.
Because I think there are many times where even ourselves, we don't realize we are not being authentic. And number two, what Leslie mentioned just now, sometimes people can perceive that we're not being authentic. It's true. Not because they're judging us. It's not like a judgmental view, but um, we dwell as existence. We also have expression, and everything's mirroring us back. So
That's the way it is.
it's a way we sometimes can. This is how we also perceive we're not being authentic at all. So this authenticity, it's not an easy topic. It's very subtle. I like the fact that we took time to unfold this challenging topic. Yeah.
And
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, and one thing like what Eddie said that, and Julia also mentioned that like stepping to the unknown, like life is about the journey, is not about the destiny. So we experiencing we are at present with our experience in that moment without any expectation, because we are stepping to the unknown. So it I would like to come back to law of attraction a little bit more about manifestation. So we never ask when, and we never ask how. We just know that it's gonna happen. So we totally step into the unknown. So sometimes we got the limitation, like limiting belief from our past, something like that. So Julia already mentioned that sometimes we want to be that kind of person, or we want to achieve something, but we think that we will not be able to make it. So we give up that kind of our authenticity to be that person, to be the person who we really want to be, who we truly would like to be. So I think that if we step into the unknown, just unlearn or give up the thing that shape us during the time that we develop ourselves to be a grow-up person. So we just take action, or we just be the thing that we really want to be, or choose the path that we really want to take without any expectation, because we know that it will come back to us, but we're not like just sitting here and waiting and not enjoy the moment. We want to do that.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky in the sense that we also don't want to make whatever we observe of how things work in the universe a formula. And then what Eddie reminded us just now, what we were talking about just now about authenticity is even besides that. It's besides that whole movement about making things formulaic, and it's besides the having of things. It's more to do with being true to what's real in the and what you are saying now, being true and present and curious to what's in the moment. And before we end, I also want to just bring up that being authentic is not an easy path, I think, because a lot of us are born into perceptions of imperatives, like I should be like this, and what is good to do in society, and so on and so forth. A lot of us spend a lot of time just even allowing ourselves to see that we are different, or allowing ourselves to say yes to what we want. Sometimes it can take a lifetime, and sometimes it might look a bit clumsy, that expression. So sometimes when people say I want to be myself, then it looks a bit clumsy and loud, and maybe it looks like they're aggressive. To me, it's a question of skillfulness and maybe how comfortable you are with that process. So it can look like different things, and but we have to be patient with ourselves, like what Leslie is saying, and allow ourselves constantly in every moment. Hopefully we are able to see what situation is being presented in our allowing ourselves into that authenticity, then can become more and more skillful. And it doesn't have to be rude, it doesn't have to be rough. We don't have to make people around us all pained, but sometimes even if it happens, we forgive ourselves and we choose again the next moment, because what else is there to be other than to be alive to what is there, right? Even alive to whatever that doesn't fit into a formulaic statement. Yeah. So, my dear folks, we have crossed the time again, but I hope you enjoyed this time.
Yes, very much.
Eddie, you're unmuted.
Thank you so much. And my takeaway in this is that one of the things that lacks some formularity, like you mentioned, and Leslie said at the end, is the unknown, the the ability or the allowing of not being certain or sure about something, but just curiously be in that moment and observe ourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, and thanks Leslie for joining us.
thank you ขอบคุณ
Thank
ค่ะ
you. See you next time.
you take
Bye.
care thank you